Welcome to class, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled you're here. Today's explainer is going to be incredibly illuminating. Literally, because we're unpacking the fundamental, totally invisible forces that power, well, our entire world. From the smartphone sitting in your pocket right now to the satellites orbiting our planet, we are going to look at the very foundation of electromagnetism. So grab your metaphorical notebooks because we are going full physics teacher mode today. Think about this for just a second. Have you ever wondered what exactly causes objects to attract or repel each other without ever physically touching? I mean, we've all experienced it, right? You walk across a carpet in your socks, reach for a metal doorknob, and snap, you get a static shock. Or you look up at the sky during a thunderstorm and see this massive, terrifying bolt of lightning. What invisible hand is orchestrating all of this? Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our syllabus for today's lesson. First up, the invisible force. Second, the basics of charge. Third, understanding Coulomb's law. Fourth, the math in action. And finally, real-world applications. Section 1. The invisible force, discovering electricity. You know, unlocking the secrets of electricity definitely didn't happen overnight. It took humanity thousands of years of observation and some pretty rigorous experimentation to figure out exactly what was going on. Over 2.5 millennia ago, around 600 BCE, the Greek philosopher Thales of Miletus noticed something super strange. When he rubbed a piece of amber with fur, it suddenly attracted small objects, like feathers. He didn't know the exact mechanism, nobody did back then, but this was our first recorded observation of static electricity. Fun fact, the word electricity actually comes from electron, which is the Greek word for amber. Moving forward, in 1600, William Gilbert properly distinguished electricity from magnetism. By 1752, Benjamin Franklin famously proved lightning was electrical. In 1785, Charles Augustin de Coulomb formulated his famous mathematical law, which we'll get to. And by the 1800s, Michael Faraday was giving us the concept of electric fields. Section 2. The basics of charge, ground rules. Before we even peek at a formula, as your physics teacher, I need to make sure we're completely solid on the ground rules. The absolutely crucial point is defining our core concept, which is electric charge. So electric charge is a basic property of matter. It dictates how particles interact through the electric force. Every single atom contains charged particles. And here is a fundamental rule you cannot forget: the law of conservation of charge. Charge is never, ever created or destroyed. It simply moves from one object to another. When you rub a plastic comb through your dry hair, you aren't magically creating new charge. You are just redistributing it. Furthermore, charge exists in discrete packets, meaning it's always a whole number multiple of an elementary charge. There are no half charges floating around out there. Now, there are only two kinds of electric charge in the entire universe, positive and negative. Protons carry the positive charge, and electrons carry the negative charge. Neutrons? Well, as the name implies, they're completely neutral. And here is the absolute golden rule of electrostatics. Burn this into your brain. Like charges repel and unlike charges attract. Two positive charges will push away from each other just like two negative charges will, but a positive and a negative, they are irresistibly drawn together. Of course, the material the charge is actually in dictates how it behaves. We generally divide materials into two main camps: conductors and insulators. Conductors, things like copper, silver, and aluminum, allow electrons to move around freely. It's an open highway for them, which is exactly why we use them for electrical wires. Insulators, on the other hand, like rubber, glass, and plastic, they act like roadblocks. They prevent charges from moving easily. And that's why those copper wires are wrapped in plastic or rubber, to protect us from getting a nasty shock. So, how do objects actually get charged in the first place? There are three primary ways. First is friction, which is simply rubbing materials together. Remember rubbing a balloon on your hair? Electrons get literally scraped from your hair onto the balloon. Second is conduction, and this involves direct physical contact. If a highly charged rod touches a neutral metal sphere, the charge simply flows over until they balance out. Third is induction, where charge is transferred without any direct contact at all. A nearby charged object simply causes the charges within a neutral object to rearrange themselves, kind of like repelling the like charges to the far side. Section 3. Understanding Coulomb's law, the core rule. All right, let me formally introduce you to Charles Augustin de Coulomb. He was a French physicist who, way back in the late 18th century, used a highly sensitive torsion balance to actually measure the tiny forces between charged spheres. But before we hit his math, let's build some physical intuition. Imagine two friends standing face to face on skateboards. If they push against each other, they both roll backwards, moving away from one another.
Now, if they hold a rope and pull, they roll toward each other. Electric charges behave in the exact same way, creating these invisible pushes and pulls. The wild part is, they are doing this across empty space, without a single bit of physical contact. Now, what's really fascinating about this relationship is the inverse square law. Coulomb discovered that if you double the distance between two charges, the force between them doesn't just cut in half. No, it drops to 1/4. If you triple the distance, the force plummets to 1/9. Why does this happen? Well, think of a sphere. As the electric influence spreads outward from a point, it dilutes over the surface area of a sphere, and that area grows as the square of the radius. Because of that geometry, the force weakens dramatically the further apart those charges get.
Section 4. The math in action. Calculating the force. Okay, I promised you we'd look at the math, but don't panic. It is literally just a logical extension of the rules we just discussed. Take a look at Coulomb's law here. F equals K times the absolute value of Q1 times Q2 divided by R squared. It's really elegant. F is our electrostatic force, Q1 and Q2 are our two charges. The formula is just telling us, multiply the magnitude of the two charges together, multiply that by a constant called K, and then divide the whole thing by the square of the distance R between them. Bigger charges up in the numerator produce stronger forces, and greater distances down in the denominator create weaker forces. Makes total sense, right? But hey, notice that little K in the formula? That is Coulomb's constant, and it is an absolutely massive number. It rounds out to 9 billion. That's 9 times 10 to the 9th power newtons meter squared per Coulomb squared. Because this constant is so exceptionally large, electric forces end up being remarkably strong, even when the actual amount of electric charge you're dealing with is relatively tiny. Let's actually walk through a solved numerical problem together so you can see it in action. Let's say we have two tiny charges, 2 microcoulombs and 3 microcoulombs, and they are separated by half a meter. Step 1, and this is absolutely vital, we have to convert to our standard SI units. We turn those microcoulombs into standard coulombs by multiplying by 10 to the negative 6th. Then in step 3, we just plug it all into our formula. 9 billion times our two converted charges divided by 0.5 squared. When we simplify the top and divide by the 0.25 denominator in step 4, we get a final force of 0.216 newtons. That is a very measurable physical push coming from two microscopically charged points, half a meter apart. Now, as your teacher, I've got to give you a quick warning because I see the exact same mistakes year after year. Please always remember to convert your distances from centimeters to meters. Always convert microcoulombs or nanocoulombs into standard coulombs before you do the math. Do not forget to square the distance in the denominator. It's R squared, not just R. And remember that opposite charges attract while like charges repel. Seriously, write your quantities down and check your units first. It'll save you so much grief. Let's compare this invisible force to something a bit more familiar to us, gravity. Both Coulomb's law and Newton's law of gravitation follow an inverse square law, which shows this really deep, beautiful mathematical similarity in how the universe works. But there are huge differences. Gravity acts on mass and it only attracts. Electric force acts on charge and it can attract or repel. Furthermore, the relative strength, it isn't even a contest. Inside a hydrogen atom, the electrostatic force between the electron and the proton absolutely dominates the gravitational force. The electric force is incredibly, almost incomprehensibly stronger.
Section 5. Real-world lab applications.
Okay, time to answer the classic student question. When will I ever actually use this? Well, the honest answer is, you use it every single day, whether you realize it or not. Coulomb's law is definitely not just theoretical. Modern laser printers and photocopiers rely heavily on electrostatic forces. They basically charge a drum and attract oppositely charged toner particles directly to the paper to make your image. In automobile manufacturing, engineers use electrostatic paint spraying. They give the paint particles a charge so they are actually, scratch that, electrostatically, attracted to the metal frame of the car, which drastically reduces paint waste. Air purifiers charge dust particles to pull them right out of the air you breathe. Even the microprocessors and memory chips inside the exact device you're using to watch this explainer, they operate entirely on the tightly controlled behavior of these electric charges. And then, of course, we have nature's ultimate spectacular demonstration, lightning.
During a thunderstorm, massive charge separations develop naturally inside the clouds. The electric potential differences become so incredibly enormous that the attraction between the opposite charges literally tears through the air, using the atmosphere itself as a conductor. A massive electrical discharge occurs, releasing tens of thousands of amps of current in a fraction of a second. It is quite literally Coulomb's law operating on a terrifying, majestic scale.
Which brings us to the end of our lesson today. But I want to leave you with a bit of a puzzle to ponder. We just learned that the electric force is astronomically stronger than gravity, right? So why do we constantly feel gravity pulling us down to the earth every single second of our lives, but we rarely feel any electrical pulls on our bodies? Think about the balance of positive and negative charges in everyday objects. Could it be that most things in the universe are perfectly, quietly neutral, keeping this massive hidden force perfectly in check? Class dismissed, but I really hope that keeps you thinking. See you next time.